Well, hello, I'm Mike Festiva. Welcome back. In this small build series, we're going to cover building a tiny home, most people call them. I kind of like cabins, so I'm going to probably be referring to it more as a cabin, tiny cabin in this video. It's going to be probably a 3-4 part series before we're done. Going to kind of cover finding a trailer, modifying the trailer, saving weight and materials along the way, how I went about building it. It's not going to be exactly a how-to, because fun thing about this is you have build it however you really want to build it. So this is just going to cover how I went about building it. So stick around and enjoy the video. So here's a free trailer. It's going to need a little bit of work. Going to have to do some welding on it and a little bit of gusseting and put some steel posts out here so I can make sure to build over the tires. It's 12 feet long, and once I get through here and lube up the bearings, make sure everything's good, I think it's going to be a great platform to build a tiny cabin on. Free, which is a good price. Like I said, free is a good price. I've been looking for a trailer to build a tiny home or a little cabin on for a while now. Kind of told my friends, and they tracked something down for me. And it was just something a fellow was kind of trying to clean up his dad's property after his dad passed away. And this is one extra thing he had on it. And needs some work. It looked like someone at some point was trying to fix it up. And yeah, so I'm going to go through here and just kind of fix some of the welds, some of the parts on the trailer. But good platform to start with. Got the rims off. Ordered some tires to put on it. We'll get those on a little bit later. Some spots that are just really cut up from a cutting torch here that I had to go through and just kind of guss it up. So we're going to fire up the welder here pretty soon and cut some metal here and start working on some extensions to widen the bed of this thing a little bit. So I got the first piece of this extension cut out here. It's gonna fit up like that. This bar is just something to keep me kind of parallel with the trailer. Gotta do probably about 8 of these things. So I got cut off some of this old stuff on here. You can see whoever had this in the past definitely wasn't, I don't know about their welding style. I mean, it's still on there, but that is some globby chicken poop on there. We cut this off, clean it up, and mount this one on this side. So what I'm doing here is I'm gonna clean up the frame, start welding on these 1-foot extensions so I can get the whole width of the actual bed about 7.5 feet wide by 12 feet long. Will be about the size of the camper. Legally, you can go up to 8.5 feet wide, but I also have to consider eaves and things like that on here. So I'm gonna start welding this on. I got my Vulcan Omni Pro. You'll probably notice a real similar thing throughout the whole video. Most of my tools I use are Harbor Freight tools. I just found they work fine for my needs. All my angle grinders, my impact guns, it just worked. I've been using the stuff for many years, and it works for my needs. It holds up well, so that's what I'm going to be using on here. Just welding this 1/4 inch angle iron on, and starting to be some good bed extensions here. Yeah, it's definitely not going to go anywhere. That's nice and solid now. So now that I got 2 on there, I just got to do that 6 more times for all these little extensions, and then I'm going to start boxing up around the wheel wells to kind of get all the metal work done so I can start with wood after that. Only people that might remember this saw is some of my longtime subscribers, but I bought that Slugger saw years ago, and then a few years later, Evolution Saw reached out to me, wanted to sponsor me with their saw, so I passed that old Slugger saw into my buddy's shop, and he's been getting many years of cutting out of it. Great saw. So right here I ended up going through and fixing those cutting torch scars on the frame and gusseted it up. Now I got some new tires on this thing. I figured with the weight I'm going to put on it, might as well make sure I got some good tires on this thing for hauling it down the road. Cleaned up some more salvaged metal. I dug into my old scrap pile. I had a bunch of this 1/8 inch. That's what I'm going to be using, this 1/8 inch angle iron to box in and around the tires and the wheel wells. Clean up everything. There's kind of a saying, if it's worth welding, it's worth cleaning first. So make sure to clean off all the paint on your weld joints, clean off the rust in those areas. Just going to have a much better weld, and doesn't smell very good breathing old burning paint. So take your time, clean things up, and yep, getting ready to box in these wheel wells so I can go up around them and start bolting plywood to them when I get to the building the walls. Got all the metal I put on here the other day all painted out black, still drying here. Welded up some spots on the trailer where there was just a single bolt holding these crossbars in, so put some weld on there. Got everything painted up pretty well, good enough for what I'm trying to do with it. Now it's time to start cutting some wood and laying down some boards going this way to start on the sheeting for the floor. So I bought some 2x4s actually to do the 12-foot span going down here, but I'm going to try to save a little bit of weight on this project. So I'm actually going to rip these things down to about 2 3/4 and run those down to connect the 3/4 flooring to. So one 2x6 weighs 23.7 pounds. That's 12 foot. So I fired up the table saw, started ripping these things down, and after a few boards, I realized I had a much better way to cut a bunch of boards very quickly. So we'll get to that a little bit later in the video. So this whole trailer was kind of beat up on some of the crossbars, and some were lower than the others, so I had to go through and shim them out a little bit and kind of level it out the best I could. Going through, pre-drilling through all the wood and steel and using metal self-tapping big heavy screws to secure these 2x3s. The reason I'm using 2x3s is they're lighter than a 2x4. Plenty of wood to sink the floor into, make sure my screws go through the flooring and hit this. And just trying to save a little bit of weight over the entire build. Keep in mind I built that little camper, sliding camper for my mini truck a few years back, and that thing was basically framed out of 2x2s or 1.5 by 1.5 and completely strong once you get it sheeted and put together. So this is going to be a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, so I wanted to go a little bit stronger for the 2x3s. Figured I might be a little further than this point on this thing, but it is what it is today. Used about 4.5 12-foot 2x6s ripped down to do all this. It's just a metal bar I was using as a straight edge on this side. So time to wrap it up, clean up my tools, and until the next time I get down here. Pretty happy with this so far. I'd like to give a big shout out to my friend Walter for allowing me to start on this cabin build in his shop. It's late winter, got 4 inches of snow coming down this day, and I was really planning to start on it late spring outside, but it's really nice to have a nice warm shop to work in. Alright, it took a while. Cut all the block in here, and these are the 4-foot sections where the plywood's going to end. I just want to have good support because the plywood I'm using is not tongue and groove, so I didn't want it to be flexing between these 2x3s on here. So got that done. I got to run to town and get some more screws and hopefully start on the sheeting next and start figuring out the walls. So I was going to lay down this little bubble wrap foam insulation for a vapor barrier. My friend actually came up with this big roll of this thin plastic, really durable stuff, and said I could help myself to whatever I wanted on it. So started going through here and laying it out as a vapor barrier, kind of a water barrier. I don't really plan to haul this thing on a really rainy, wet day. I'm really just going to haul it a few 100 miles away from my place and keep it at a friend's place for a cabin, a little home away from home. But yeah, laid that plastic down there and encapsulated the whole wheel wells in case it's raining, water will fall down and not get onto the floor. Right here, we're laying down this little, I think it's rated like R3.2, a little kind of Mylar bubble wrap and a little something to kind of work as a little bit of insulation on the floor. Keep in mind, I'm out in Western Washington. It's not that cold out here in the winter even, and this thing's going to be very easy to heat up. So, yep, wrapping it up. Right here, I'm actually doing a little pre-drilling because I'm going to have all my screws exposed. Instead of doing like a heavy-duty subfloor, I wanted to go for something that was like pre-finished. This is like maple veneer plywood. A little more expensive. I think it was like $80-some a sheet, but it gets my subfloor and my flooring all done in one aspect of it. And this little bit I'm using is a little taper drill bit with the countersink built right into it. Made the floor, putting 60 screws or 80 screws or however much went in there a lot quicker because one drill, you get a pre-drill and a countersink all in one. Muscle Man just helped me here. Load up 14 sheets of 3/8.
Yeah.
We got 12 2x4s, 10 footers. Firing up the old table saw, ripping down some sections of plywood to box in the wheel wells. This is all just 3/8 stuff. I decided to run plywood rather than OSB. This is like actually going to be like 15 pounds lighter per sheet than OSB. A little bit thinner, but it's going to be completely adequate for everything I'm going to be doing for this small structure. Keep in mind, if you've ever gone into any type of little campers and seen the construction, they're pretty light duty, all the fifth wheels on the roadway. So like I said earlier, I had a better way for ripping down these boards. These are some 8-foot 2x6s. These are all going to be turned into 2x3s for the framing of the structure. And I loaned my mill to my buddy Walter for the last few months, and he's been running it. And this is just one of those little convenient things that was down there. I thought, hey man, for every pass of 4 boards, I get 8 studs out of it. So went for the mill, and it's actually working pretty good here. Well, there you go. 2 passes with that thing, and I got 16 2x3s basically. Reason I did this and went for the 2x6s, ripped them down, was because at Home Depot the 2x3s were absolutely awful. I mean, there was knots going through 3/4 of the wood, and this was basically about the same price. I was just gonna have to do some table sawing, and I remembered I was loaning this mill to my buddy down here, so I thought, well, I'll throw some of these on here and start ripping the studs for the walls. That's pretty quick. Things always take me longer than I expect they will, but got the floor boxed out, got some 2x3s ran through here, got these corner 2x3s mounted here, ready to go. Got my layout figured out. Window is going to go from here 4 feet over to here. So start framing this thing. So a lot of this project I've been kind of working on the evenings after coming back from work, having dinner with my family, jumping down to it. But I actually got down here on a day off and had, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours to work on this thing and kind of making some more progress. But it's been kind of a little side project, so it's kind of get down here when it fits with my family and life and work. So but it's going to be a fun thing. I'm definitely have it as like a little cabin to go to my friend's place to hang out at, do some hiking with my family, maybe some snowboard in the winter, and have a nice warm little mini cabin to go to. And I've been wanting to build one of these for a few years now, so I actually have an opportunity to find a free trailer to build it on. It's pretty cool. Just about ready to start sheeting this thing, and got a lot knocked out. This is like the first almost full day. Well, from noon on, I've gotten on this project so far, but should be good to go. Start putting some sheets on here and hopefully start on the roof soon. So in the next part, we're going to be jumping on to sheeting the roof, getting metal on it, doing some flashing, hopefully finish the back wall here, install a door and some windows, and we'll see what else we get on part 2. So stick around. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. And do me a favor, please, if you want to see more of these videos, hit the bell icon. YouTube notifies about 10% of my subscribers, so they do not notify the other 230,000 maybe. So yeah, if you want to see more updates on this project and some of my other projects, hit the bell. All right, till next time, take care. Bye.